And we gon' bring you that dope.
And we gon' bring you that dope. It's Gator Beat, baby. Main state to state, baby, coast to coast. Like the vibe, baby, spark the joke.
And we gon' bring you that dope.
Come talk with Erica, man, talk with G. And all you gotta do is talk with me.
And we gon' bring you that dope. And we gon' bring you that dope. And we gon' give you that dope. And we gon' bring you that dope.
Yo, 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 what's up?
Down the street, real slow. Cruising down the street, real slow. Cruising down the street. Yo, what's up?
What's going on, everybody? I'm trying to something. Can you hear our little background music?
Oh yeah. I hear it.
I'm trying to take it down a little lower, so it don't drown us out.
Oh yeah, that's that smooth mellow right there. That's one of my favorite beats I ever did. That little, it's all mellow and stuff. Oh yeah, nice and mellow.
Yes, get us in the mood. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another Dope Discussions live Tuesday. How y'all doing out there?
What's going on, virtual congregation? You know, things happen sometimes. I'm out here. They got caught on the road. I couldn't make it to the house sometimes. It's like, okay, well, let me jump on right here, you know, because discussion is necessary.
Yes, this the work week. This is only the second day of the work week, but hell, it feels like I'm ready for the weekend.
Man, this has been a long one. This has been a long 2 days.
Right.
Like, for real.
I'm ready for the weekend.
I think it's just because Juneteenth is next week, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So I think, you know, so some people get off work Juneteenth. So yeah. I'm talking to y'all. Y'all gonna be ready for that 3-day weekend, you know.
Yep, I'm ready for that 3-day weekend for sure.
Oh yeah. you know me. I'm always gonna be working. If it ain't the main job, it's gonna be the third
one. Yes. Well, let's get into tonight's topic. Come on in, everybody. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, boost us up in the YouTube algorithm so we can make this community bigger than what it is. Mm-hmm. We have some dope topics over here, dope discussions. We just speak from the heart. We speak from our experience of things we've personally gone through and things that we observe in friends and family, co-workers, all of the above, social media. I like to think of myself as a human behavior observer. I study people.
Gotcha.
From a young age. Yes, from a very young age, I've always been the person in the corner studying everybody in the room, picking out their personalities, their insecurities, just reading them from top to bottom so I know how to move in that room with those people.
Right, got you. Just be peeping, you know what I'm saying? See how y'all do that thing, and then I'll act accordingly.
Mm-hmm. Because if you allow people to talk about themselves long enough, you can pretty much know who they are.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes. Yes. And tonight's topic, this one is also a topic that's near and dear to my heart that I wanted to talk about. We're going to be talking about breaking away from toxic family patterns, belief systems, all that good and
Yeah.
not so good stuff.
Right, right, right. A lot of times when we're when we coming up, we don't even realize that some of the behaviors that we are witnessing are going to imprint themselves on us later in life, and
Mhm.
we end up falling into a pattern that we're not even aware that we're falling into, and
Mhm.
that could be harmful for your growth and for your future relationships.
Yeah, shout out to Quincy from the Talk to Q radio show. He's always tuning in with us, chiming in, letting us know he's supporting us. He's out to dinner.
You
Save me a plate.
right? Just say save them.
Save me
We
a plate.
appreciate you. Q checking in from there. See, that's dedication. I look. I got caught on the road. I'm gonna jump on and do the show. Q at dinner. You know,
Yep.
he gonna go ahead and jump on. That's
You're gonna jump
dedication.
on right quick to let us know he here. Thank you for the thank you for the support.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes when I'm really excited about a topic, I write notes.
Oh, I know. You
So I
say you.
wrote me some notes.
I wrote me some notes.
And this is also, I got confirmation because I sent you the topic for today on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And on Sunday, I got confirmation that this was a good topic to talk about because um I follow this lady on Instagram. She's a therapist
Mm-hmm.
and I love her content. She's all into the, self improvement, healing from trauma, breaking toxic patterns. And so she's always putting great messages out there that I resonate with. And
Right, right,
so
right.
I sent you the topic Saturday, and then on Sunday, she made a post on her page, and I'm gonna pull it up because I screenshotted it because I was like, wow, this is confirmation, you know, that this is something that needs to be talked about. So she made a post and it said, in dysfunctional families, telling the truth is betrayal and keeping secrets is loyalty.
Yeah, that's very much true. I mean, it kind of goes back to the whole stop snitching philosophy that we have in the hood.
Mm-hmm.
That type of thing. I mean, we don't want to talk about certain behaviors or certain things because it makes the family look bad, or it makes that interaction um feel icky or whatever. So what they do is they just kind of keep it on the hush, keep
Mm-hmm.
it. We're gonna whisper about this one,
Mm-hmm.
and then the stuff that they should be talking about, they're not talking about.
Right. And a lot of times you will hear about, yo, what's up, Kaylee? Come on in. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in,
Kaylee,
girl. Kaylee
welcome to the
the
virtual
boss.
congregation. The boss.
She be bossing. Yes, so I was thinking about this correlation. A lot of times when kids grow up and they feel like they don't have family structure, they feel like they don't get the love and attention that they need from home, they usually go
Yeah,
out in the streets and try to make their own family.
yeah,
And a lot of times you'll hear about kids getting in with the wrong crowd and getting into gangs and stuff like that because it made them feel like they belong somewhere.
mm,
And I was thinking about that and I was like, a lot of times when you're growing up in toxic, dysfunctional families, the first gang you become a part of is in your family. Sometimes families operate like a gang.
pretty much. They operate like a little mafia.
Right.
you
There's
know.
certain rules and regulations you got to follow to be a
Hmm.
part of this family. And if you step outside of that, we're going to disown you. We're going to kick you out of the family because you're not being loyal to the system, the beliefs, and creed that we follow in this family.
Exactly. And the sad part about that is that happens a lot more than people realize. We all have that cousin that that we don't talk to because everybody look down on them, or
Mm-hmm.
it's because they decided to follow their own path. you
Yes.
know so
Yes.
yeah, it's sad that, especially in our community, when I say our, I'm talking about the Black community, that
Yeah.
seems to be a more prevalent thing, where
Yeah.
we will make sure that, hey, you need to keep this secret. If you're not keeping this secret, then we can't talk to you.
Yeah. Yep. That saying that what goes on in this house stays in this house.
Right, right.
Even if what's going on in that house is causing you harm and putting you in danger, you better not tell nobody what's going on in this
Exactly.
house.
Exactly. Because it's a betrayal. It's
Yeah.
legitimately a betrayal if you let people outside of your house know that that your mom getting beat up on,
Mm-hmm.
or that you know the kids are being abused, or that there's some infidelity or something going on in the household. It
Mm-hmm.
becomes one of those things where hey, we need to keep a lapse on this because we don't want to look bad to everybody else, and in that process you begin to keep secrets that should have been saw the light of day. you
Yeah.
know we talk about that uncle that they try to keep all the kids away from.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but
That type of scenario.
they never make him stop coming around.
Right.
They just tell everybody else how to maneuver around him.
Exactly. In the meantime, you're setting up a toxic environment for those kids, and as they
Mm-hmm.
grow up and they come into a realization of what's happening, they do the same thing, and so it becomes like a cycle of toxicity where you know it's almost like you're allowing predatory behavior to happen because they're family and you don't want them to look bad or feel bad.
Mm-hmm. And in many cases, if you blow the whistle on that situation, the family gonna turn their back on you
Yeah, yeah,
and kick you
yeah.
out the family. And the uncle that been doing touching kid gonna still be in the family.
Exactly,
Because you had the
exactly.
audacity to tell and run your mouth and make our family look bad.
Right, right. I have a friend of mine who went through a scenario like that. But it was an infidelity thing where they had tried to keep on the low
Mm-hmm.
that his uncle was cheating on his aunt, and it was almost like they was just whispering it between
Mm-hmm.
everybody. We don't want to let her know, but we just whispering it, whispering it. And finally he was like, man, I love my auntie, man. Oh, you need to stop treating her like that. And they disowned him,
Mm-hmm.
you know because that was a secret that he wasn't supposed to you know he wasn't supposed to let out in that
It's
scenario.
crazy. I wrote down a list of things that when I look back on my childhood and I saw some of my toxic behaviors, I realized I learned that in my family, growing up in my family, I saw examples of that. And I thought that's how you are to operate, in the world and in relationships and friendships. Number one on my list, I learned how to gossip as a way to form a bond or a friendship with other people.
Mm,
I
yeah.
learned that in order for you to create a friendship or a bond, common bond with somebody, you need to be against somebody else. And
Right,
I
right,
I
right.
saw that in my own family where brothers and sisters, cousins, uncles who claimed they loved each other would get over in a corner and gossip about the other family member and what's going on in their house and their business. And I'm like, but you was just over there laughing and talking with them like you love them so much, and now you over
Right.
here talking about them behind their back and putting their business out in the street. And they don't understand kids are soaking that up. They're paying attention to it. And that was one of the reasons why when I went to college and moved away from my family unit, I really never wanted to go back because I felt like if you can't get real, genuine loyalty from the family that you came from and you grew up with, where can you get it from?
Right. Exactly. That's it's crazy that you mentioned that just now because I see that more than anything, where you have these little cliques, in the
Hmm.
family. These people know this information, these people know this information, and they'll smile and kiki and all that in your face and laugh in your face, and then go behind your back to the other cousin and be like, "Well, yeah, I don't even understand why he's so happy. You heard he having surgery, he got cancer. You heard he got, what I'm saying?" And they spread all of these little clicks and all this information around in ways. I mean, not saying that you have to be, completely open about every single thing that you got going on in that family dynamic, but it's better to do that than to have people whispering and talking behind your back.
Hmm.
Be up front with me. Don't be two faced with me.
Hmm.
Don't smile in my face and talk bad about me behind my back.
And think about it. We just talked about what goes on in this house stays in that house. And that's
Yep.
probably the mirror, the other side of that is that don't tell nobody what's going on in our house because they gonna gossip and talk about our business.
Exactly.
Even
Right. They
to
gon'
family members, don't tell family members what's going on in our house because I can't really trust them to keep my business to themselves.
exactly. But you know why, right? Because of what we were talking about just now. It's a learned behavior. As
Hmm.
kids, they saw that happen. They saw how family be talking about you, and they saw how those things happen. So as they get older, they realize, oh no, we don't need that.
Hmm.
Excuse me, don't let that out. Because they
Hmm.
will talk about you. They will do because that's what they saw.
Yeah. And
And
I learned that
unfortunately, you got to break it.
there's a lot of jealousy in
Yeah.
families. It's like when one sibling is doing better than the other sibling, they feel a sense of jealousy towards them and they have to have
Hmm.
something to gossip about. And it's like, even as a kid growing up, I knew it was wrong. Deep down inside, I just knew this is not how families are
Hmm.
supposed to,
Right.
operate.
It's it's not, that's not how it's supposed to be.
Hmm.
But then at the same time, do you? Because you can literally come from an environment that is so toxic that you feel like that's normal behavior, right?
Hmm.
You feel like that's how you're supposed to act with family. That's how you're supposed to keep these people at arm's length. You're supposed to keep secrets and gossip and do things like that.
Hmm.
You're supposed to treat Unc like he ain't got no predatory problems. You just
Right.
go up to him and, oh yeah, it's all right, don't worry about it, and then let him do whatever, and just keep the kids from him. That's the sad fact that I could make that statement, and all of our listeners know exactly what I'm talking about because they've been around a situation like that, shows how rampant that type of toxicity is in our community when it comes to family.
Right. Kaylee says, say that jealousy. Then it comes off as competition. Baby, what is
Hmm.
for me is for me. Please find your lane rather than seeing what you are not in me. And
Right.
that's right there because a lot of times when you and your other family members, y'all they know y'all all come from the same place. And then you're going off and doing something different, it reminds them that they could also be doing that because if y'all came from
Right.
the same place,
Right.
they could be doing just what you're doing. But instead of
Right.
being happy for you and it being inspired that you're showing them that this can be done, they were jealous that how she figured she could do that. And I ain't did
Right.
that, or nobody else in the family ain't never did that.
Hmm.
She must think she better than everybody. And
Yeah.
ooh, that
Yeah.
kills me.
That happens a lot too, especially when you have families who I've seen recently where you have families where a person is starting a business and they seem to be a little kind of gaining momentum and being a little bit successful, and the other people in the family will hey, I saw your little business online.
Live.
You saw your little entrepreneurship online, and trying to belittle what you're doing and trying to, look down on the fact that, like you said, these are things that they probably could have done too.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes them, hurt even worse because they come from the same place that you did. You did it, they didn't.
Yeah.
So it makes them feel some type of way. You have that jealousy and that envy from them,
Yeah.
and it becomes one of those things where they go into circles and they start talking about it. Yeah, she got her little business, but I heard that her husband cheating on her, or yeah, I saw he got his little business going, he doing all that, but he still ain't married. You know what I'm saying? That type,
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
type of stuff.
It's always something they got to put in there to make themselves feel better
Right,
about their situation.
right.
And it is really sad. That's why I learned a long time ago there's a difference in family and relatives.
Hmm.
Relatives are people who have your same DNA. They were born into the same family, but that doesn't mean that y'all are automatically have a family relationship just because y'all were born into the same family. Family to me is people
Hmm.
who reciprocate what I put out and what I give, and they want the best for me as I want the best for them. And we have things in common. You can be born in the same family with the same mother and father
Hmm.
and have a person that you don't have nothing in common with them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Your whole worldview might be completely different. You
And
know.
it's okay. But we've been taught that this mafia that you were born into is the one that you got
Hmm.
to die for.
Right, exactly. And a lot of times those be the same ones. That if you struggling, they ain't gonna stick a hand out for you.
Mm-mm.
You know,
You ain't,
unfortunately, and
I ain't finna help you get above me.
right, right, exactly. Well, see, that's a whole different thing. That's that envy saying, you know what? Let me stop this person from succeeding because then it's gonna make them look better than I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and not to just come down on families, like all families ain't like that, but I mean, there's a lot of them that are like that, that do have that mafia mentality
Yeah.
of the way that they handle things, unfortunately.
Yeah. And we're not talking about all families. We're just talking
Hmm.
about some of the toxic things that go under the guise of family, quote
Family.
unquote.
Hmm.
And the
Exactly.
word, sometimes the word tradition is synonymous with dysfunction.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times we are doing things that have been passed down to us. We don't even know where it originated from. We don't know who the first person that did it, the reason behind it. We just know that my mama did it, my grandmother did it, her grandmother did it, and that's why I'm doing it. But you don't even
Exactly.
really know what's behind it, what started it. And if it doesn't fit with your life and what you believe in and what you want to achieve, it's okay to say, well, that's okay. It was my mama did it, my grandma did it, but that's not for me, or it doesn't fit with my life or what I'm trying to do. And it's okay.
Hmm.
But human beings, we're so wired to want to belong and to fit in that a lot of times we'll go along with things that make us feel bad, that we have a sense that it's wrong, or we have a sense that, this really not right for me, but we'll go along to get along. because we want to
Right.
belong.
Right, exactly. You know, and because especially like I said, as you come up and you get older, you know, one of those things that used to be a big deal was, you know, when you got to listen in at the grown folk table a little bit and hear what they was talking about. So you felt like
Mhm.
you was a part of it then, you know, oh, what you mean AT did such and such? But not realizing that that was indoctrinating you into that behavior. You
Mhm.
know, that was indoctrinating you into to feeling like, okay, well, these things need to be kept to the chest, and I can't talk to, you know, we can't talk about these certain things. You know, it was
Mhm.
all indoctrination.
Yeah. And that brings me to another one of the things I wrote on my list. I learned that adults and what they think and their opinions are more valuable than children.
Mm,
Children are to be
yeah.
seen and not heard.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have an opinion. You don't have feelings. You don't have
Mm,
independent thoughts. You think what I tell you to think. You do what I tell you to do. And you don't question my reasoning behind it. You just blindly do it. And
mm,
if you go against
yeah.
anything that I tell you to do or how I tell you to do it, you're being disrespectful.
Right, right, right. I mean, and when we say that, you know, just to keep in mind, we're not talking necessarily about the parenting scenario. We're talking about if kids have an opinion about something, and you know, they should be able to express that opinion without feeling like, you know, they're going to be ostracized because the way they feel doesn't fit into the family dynamic of how
Mm-hmm.
things are going. You know, that happens a lot where, you know, I may have I'm gonna use a really vague statement, but
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend of mine who, you know, he's a conservative, and his family are all like staunch liberal Democrat type, you know, stuff, and they won't even talk to him because his political beliefs are outside of what. Now he's the same person, but his political beliefs don't line up. It's a similar type of scenario. You know,
Yeah.
if you want to go be an entrepreneur and you want that entrepreneurial, you have that entrepreneurial spirit in you, and you have your family coming at you like, you know, boy, you better get in there and work in the plant.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
they will push you to the side like, oh, he just dreaming. He
He
ain't got nothing
different.
with him. He different. He ain't got nothing with him. You know. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and then just and completely dismiss that person
Yeah.
and that child, and just dismiss their opinions and their thoughts and their dreams. You know.
Yes. That's very familiar to me. That's called black or white thinking.
Yeah.
It's either this or that. There's no room for both things to exist at one time. You can have a certain viewpoint on something and I can have an opposing viewpoint on it. That doesn't Mine doesn't negate yours, yours doesn't negate mine. They
Right.
can both exist in the same space. I'm not trying to make you believe what I believe. You're not trying to make me believe what you believe. And we can still
Hmm.
come meet in the middle. We have other things in common.
Right.
If you find somebody that you have a lot of other things in common, y'all just disagree on certain things. Why can't y'all still exist in the same space? Two things can be true at one time, but when you have that
Hmm.
black or white thinking, you are so close minded and fixed that you shut people out. You don't allow for other people to have different experiences than you.
Right. Right.
And I used to be one of those people.
You're not accepting the people's opinions or different ways of thinking, and that by itself can lead to what they, you know, what we talk about as generational curses, right?
Hmm.
Because, you know, somebody thinks a little bit outside of the box, and they have an opinion, or they have facts that may change the way that the tradition has been going. But because of the fact that we want to ostracize those people, there's no new way of thinking imparted into the scenario, no new way of doing things, no new line of thought. So you just
Hmm.
continue along that same generational path that you was on before.
Yeah, I agree with you, Love Tucker.
Hmm.
There has to be a measure of respect. Like when you
Yeah,
open the door for your children to be able to express themselves, as long as it's done respectfully,
yeah, yeah.
I see no problem with it. But if you're getting disrespectful in your tone, or you think you talking to me like one of your little friends in the streets,
Uh, yeah, we not,
we're
yeah.
gonna have to
It ain't
bring
it,
it back.
it ain't gonna be one of them. Shut up, mom. I'm talking to.
Exactly. It ain't gonna be one of them.
Ooh.
It ain't gonna be one of them. We're gonna have a civilized adult discussion where you get to voice your opinions and I get to listen and I get to address, and move
Hmm.
accordingly, but you don't get to get all up in my face.
Shoot. Look, mama, I said, you're like, dang, look, I gotta call NASA. I think he in orbit somewhere.
Yeah, I've been
Shoot.
hearing a lot about this gentle parenting stuff. I mean, everything
Mm,
everything gotta be a fad. Why it gotta be gentle parenting? It just
yeah.
it's a new way of parenting where you're actually allowing your child to express themselves. But it ain't like you bowing down and say, okay, Charlie, clean your room. Please
Right,
clean your
exactly.
room. Ain't nobody
Exactly.
doing
Although,
all that.
yeah, I was gonna say I've seen some of them on there that do that, and they were like, "No, mom, I'm not gonna do it. Screw you." Well, why do you feel that way about me? Nah, dog.
You gotta have some balance up in there. You
Yeah,
gotta
you
have some
definitely do.
balance. Don't too you can't veer too far right or left. You gotta keep some balance up in there.
Exactly.
Let's see what Kayla said. We don't come out knowing how to present our thoughts. That's what
Mm-hmm.
conversation does, and allowing them to speak in order to correct them using our correct tone. Yes, ma'am.
Right, right, right. Now, the caveat to that is you want to make sure that you're in an environment where people know how to talk, and that
Hmm.
because there's if you look online, especially, you can see where some of these kids are being trained up by parents who don't know no better neither, and the way that they communicate, the way you've seen the whole cell phone fad where the teacher will take a cell phone from the kid and all of a sudden they done lost their mind and they jumping up and down on the teacher and doing all that kind of stuff. A lot of that comes from the fact that they were able to do those things at home. And
Hmm.
that's the way that the parent acts. That's the way that I bet you they wouldn't do none of that with me. So guess what the child gonna do? I bet you wouldn't do none of that with me. You
Yeah,
know?
case in point, that teacher that jumped on, I mean that student that jumped on the teacher because she took her cell phone,
Mm-hmm.
and that teacher beat her little ass.
Uh-huh.
I said she needed
Mm-hmm.
her little ass beat.
Shoot, that's a life
Hmm.
lesson. That's a life lesson right there.
Because
you know,
you
but
don't do that.
right, but if you have parents that act out of pocket, they're teaching their kids to act out of pocket. So we
Right.
want to say that we want the kids to be able to express themselves and come up in an environment where they learn how to communicate those feelings and those emotions. If the
Hmm.
parents don't know how to communicate their feelings and emotions, then that could cause another problem.
Yes. All right. Here's another one on my list. Expected to make excuses and cover up the mistakes of the men in their life. And it is
Mm,
disrespectful to call out the bad behavior of the man that's taking care of you.
mm. Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying earlier about infidelity.
Hmm.
Where my friend's uncle was cheating and just calling it out, and him being like, I care about my aunt. I don't like the fact that you're hurting her. That was a big deal. Like
Hmm.
the rest of the family was like, how dare you mention that? I mean that's something we supposed to have on the hush. That's something we're not supposed to be broadcasting. And they're protecting that man in that scenario. But there's a lot of women who also go through those things with their husbands, and they protect him, and they don't let anybody know that they're going through abuse or that they're going through that infidelity and those things like that. And the kids look at that and they're like, okay, well, I guess that's how it's supposed to be. These are things that we don't talk about. We don't talk about the fact that daddy is beating up mommy. We don't talk about those things. And
Yes.
as they get older, they feel like, I think I've shared this story before, where I dated a girl a long time ago, and she got to a point where she was like, if you don't hit me, you don't love me. I don't understand why you won't hit me when I get out of line. So she would literally be getting out of line and putting her finger in my
On
face and doing all
purpose.
that kind of stuff on purpose to try to trigger me to hit her, because she said, why won't you correct me when I get out of line? And I was like, what?
That's
Like,
how
first
she
of
was
all,
taught that love
that's how
goes.
she was taught. Her dad did that to her mom,
Wow,
you know?
that's scary.
Yeah.
Um, as you were talking about, families making sure you keep secrets and keep things on the hush,
Hmm.
that just made me think about how when you grow up in a family that makes you keep secrets and makes you look past certain things that are wrong. I thought back to my childhood and I remember being told that I had anger issues.
Mm.
And I'm like, but I had things to be angry about. I
Right,
saw
right,
things that weren't right. I witnessed things that weren't right. I experienced things that weren't right. And I was just told that I should be quiet about it or,
mm.
overlook it or ignore it. Keep get along, go along just to get along.
Right,
And
right,
a lot of times that's why kids get kids get misunderstood when they're acting out in anger and the family doesn't know why they're so mad.
right,
They're
right.
mad because there are things they can't express to you. They're mad because things are not right in their life and they don't have a way to express it. They're not allowed to tell you what's going on. Um, so
Hmm.
that's the issue that you're witnessing.
Right,
And
exactly.
even in adulthood, this was an argument that I had with my mother last year where she told me that I had anger issues. And I said, no, I don't have anger issues. I get angry when things are not right and I call them out as I see them. But in this family dynamic, I'm wrong because I'm bringing attention to things that I see that's not right, but you want me to be quiet about it and
Mm,
hush hush and pretend like it's okay and I don't see it. And that's where we're always going to disagree.
mm.
I don't have
Yeah.
anger issues because I don't get angry until I come over here and see the stuff that's going on.
Right, 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 right. You know, that's you know what? Now that you say that just now, that makes me think about something else. A, a lot of times we subject ourselves to family because they family,
Hmm.
right? Sometimes we hang around cousins, and even though we don't like the fact that they do this and they do that, we don't even like being around them. But of course, we gotta hang around them because they family. You ain't
Hmm.
gotta hang around nobody.
You
You ain't
don't.
gotta, especially if they're bringing negative energy into your space.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Or when you go around them, you feel that negative energy. You don't have to be there. You can literally say, you know what? I'm not doing cousin Booney today. You know what
Exactly.
I'm saying? And not show up. You have control over who you allow into that space with that energy.
Right.
And when it's family, you shouldn't feel, and don't get me wrong, a lot of times, especially old school, they will push that cousin on you, push that uncle on you, push that person on you. Hey, you shouldn't be like that. That's family. You
Yeah.
know, but it's
Yep.
like, but family make me feel bad. Why am I still gonna subject myself to feeling bad just because they family? At some
Exactly.
point, you got to be like, you know what? I don't feel good when I'm around you. Therefore, I'm not gonna be around you. Every time I get around you, it's an argument. I'm not gonna put that energy out there. Sometimes you have to know when to be like, all right, you family and everything. I love you from a distance, but I ain't got to sit there and deal with it.
Yes. My tolerance for fakeness and ignorance and pretending like I don't see things that are going on around me, I cannot do that anymore.
Right,
I
right,
just cannot do it. And if you want me to sit there and witness foolishness and act like I'm okay with it, I
right,
just won't come around. And then y'all could be blissfully ignorant by yourselves without me. Cause I'm gonna
right.
tell you, this what y'all doing? This ain't right.
Hmm. Exactly. 'Cause you don't have to show up. You ain't got to invite those people into your space. You don't have to unwillingly participate in energy.
Hmm.
That's unnecessary. I was told that a long time ago. Like, hey, that's family though. You want to make sure that you know you keep them. You love on them, but that don't necessarily mean that you got to be in their face. You
Yeah.
know, I was fortunate that I was taught that hey, you ain't got. But I know people who go through that. Like they don't like cousin Booty, and I don't know if they got anybody that got a cousin Booty out there right now. I'm not talking about them in particular. That's just the first thing that popped in my head. But yeah, you don't even like being around them. They smoke, they drinking all the time, they cussing all the time. You don't even really like. But that's your cousin, so you gotta be. Nah, I ain't gotta do nothing. I,
Yes.
my energy is unique, so I don't have to, you know, give it to someone when I don't want to.
Yeah, I think that's a form of masochism where
Yeah.
you're a glutton for punishment. Like
Hmm.
you like torture. You
Hmm.
you go around people that make you feel bad and make you feel horrible, but it's something about it you just can't pull yourself away from it.
Yeah.
It's
There,
like
there are
you
those.
feel like that's all you deserve or something. Or this
Yeah,
is
there are
all I'm
those.
gonna get out of life.
Right, right, right. There are those out there. There are those people that that you feel like you have to, that those people in the family where it's like, man, I don't really want to go to AT house, and they always be sad, because she always telling me about her dog and all that kind of stuff. But I guess I'm gonna go over
Oh,
and sit over. I'm gonna go over here and sit with her, and
yes,
but you don't have to. If you feel bad in a space, don't be in that space.
that's that people pleasing. And
Hmm.
I had it bad. I mean, I had it bad. I would dread certain interactions with certain people, but I didn't want them to feel bad. And so I would punish myself by forcing myself to go do this or do that or interact with them when I know it's going to drain the hell out of me. But in order for not
Right,
to make them feel bad, I'll go ahead and do it.
right, and you don't need people to just drain you for no reason.
Hmm. Hmm.
When you have the ability to be like, you know what, I don't have to be drained.
And that's another one I wrote on my list. I learned that making other people feel comfortable was more important than how it made me feel.
Yeah, 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 and that's in itself is a whole thing because many times it goes back to the people pleasing thing, but also in families it goes back to the whole oh, got a secret thing. It's
Hmm.
like we would rather make that person feel comfortable and be able to come to the gathering than be like, hey, you know what, we can't, it's not safe with you here. you know
Hmm.
we want to coddle the feelings of the people that we really don't need to be coddling in those
Yeah.
scenarios, unfortunately. And
Yes.
it don't do nothing but drain you. It really does.
And this is a question I wanted to pose to you and to our viewers. What are some things that you learned from your family that you feel was toxic to your life?
Hmm. You know what? That's a good question. Because I can say that I was blessed enough to, have, um, a pretty good stability, and pretty sound people, on my mom's side of the family. My dad's for the certain, to a certain extent as well. But I can tell you that the one of the things that I found was toxic was the thought of the infidelity scenario, keeping those types of things. Because my family had those cliques and circles too, that they would talk
Mm-hmm.
about. Oh, he doing this and he doing that, and da 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 da. And it would be, a known secret of what was
Mm-hmm.
going on. We were not gonna tell Auntie what's happening, or
Yeah.
that kind of thing, you know. So I've been in that. I have been in that scenario, and so I did learn that you can't share, all information with everybody in your family. There are certain people that kind of, you know
Mm-hmm.
should, pinpoint the information, and pick out what you share. You know,
Yeah.
um, unfortunately, that happened for a while when I was younger. It not so much as I got older, because a lot of people in my family got saved, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was something that I learned at an early age. That was a toxic behavior, and I'm just kind of glad that they kind of reconciled a lot of it.
Yeah. When you mentioned save, I
To see,
had some family who got saved and they got more toxic.
so there is a dynamic of this, especially in the black community. I can honestly say that one of the things I talked to my dad about a lot was that when my dad got saved, he was like, "All y'all going to hell," and it was just like, but it became a thing where he kind of lashed out at people. He lashed out at some of his family and all that kind of stuff, and it came across as being, you know, even like you say, even more toxic
Hmm.
than being able to talk to people
Hmm.
about what's going on. And then there's a lot of families that have those perceived saved people that are just in their own little clique. That's just another part of the mafia. They just got a
Yep.
different pin on,
Yep.
but they got the same toxic traits that the other people do.
I had certain family members. You could not have a normal conversation with them. Everything was biblical. They was gonna hit you over the head with every Bible scripture of what you doing wrong in your life.
Mm,
Until when you saw them coming, you were running and ducking and hiding.
right.
You
So
just
the
couldn't
thing,
have a normal conversation with them no more.
Right. So the thing with that is, I understand when you are truly saved, you're excited about it, and you spread that word and you spread that love. And I can tell the difference between people who are saved and they're genuinely, talking to you because they're excited about the word and all that kind of stuff, and they want to talk to you, and those who are literally beating you upside the head with the Bible because they want to feel superior to you, because they
Hmm.
feel like they know God and you don't. And I
Yes.
see that sometimes. I've seen that, with families before, where there'll be a dynamic in that family where people are just like, like you said, you can't even have a normal conversation with them without them. It's not the normal conversation without them talking about God, and God's love and all that. It's you know, oh well, you need to get right because you ain't doing this and you ain't doing that, and the chastising
Hmm.
of you because
Hmm.
you're not on their level, quote unquote, of
Hmm.
Christianity. A lot of people don't realize that's how you lose people when you're trying to minister to them. You can't save somebody when you kicking them off the boat.
Right.
That's not how it
And
works.
ministering to people, you can't minister to everybody. You have to minister to people who are seeking it, who are looking for it. You can't just go out in the street and just start ministering to people who are looking at you like, did we ask you for this? We're not asking for this because I have my own God that I'm serving. So you gotta be discerning about that too. Like you can't just go around like just trying to recruit people into the kingdom of God. You have to have discernment on who's looking for you and who's going to be receptive to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind when people are legitimately just trying to share their excitement and trying to lead you to God. It's when they come and they Bible thumping you, and they trying to really hit you because when there's whole ministries about going out and spreading the word of God. It's different when they're doing that as opposed to you going to hell, you come here,
But when you're going in,
going to hell.
when you're ministering to people and spreading the word of God, you do that by service and you do that by acts because nobody wants to just hear you yapping. They need to feel it. They need to see it.
Definitely.
Just hitting people with Bible scriptures. The devil know the Bible too.
Well, exactly. It's all about what you do, and be a testimony as you're working, and like I said, you share your excitement, share it, minister. But as you said, you want to see the acts behind it as well. That ain't what Sister Jenkins and them be doing, when they be sitting there hitting you over the head with the Bible. You need to be out here. You don't need to be listening to that. You don't need to be doing that. And they go into these whole diatribes about, how bad you are and how, this. But that's not how you minister to people. That's not how, because if you really was concerned about my well-being and me being saved and all that kind of stuff, you would minister to me in love. You wouldn't be sitting here trying to beat me upside the head. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gonna die.
I think a lot of Christians have run more people off from God than brought them in. Because when I grew up in church, the church that I went to, I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I just give up. I think I'm gonna just go ahead and just go to hell because it's too hard to get into heaven. All these rules and regulations, and they telling me I can't do this, I can't do that. I can't even have a thought in my head where I gotta rebuke every thought that come into my head. Even if you thought about something, you gotta you gotta ask for forgiveness and repent for any unclean thought and all that. You know what? Just forget it. Because I have a million thoughts that go through my head every day, and I can't repent every one of them.
Well, Lord. I was blessed enough to go to a great church, but I've been to churches like the one you're talking about, where like you went to, where it's literally like it's more about you being, a good example than you actually being saved, and they will, it's just like they want you to rebuke everything. Every thought you have, every temptation you have, and that's just not how it works.
Exactly. It doesn't work that way.
That's not how it works. But yeah, I can honestly say I was blessed enough to go to a church that they didn't hit us upside the head with that.
Yes, and one other thing that I learned, and I learned this from my father's side of the family, because I didn't have a relationship with him. He wasn't interested in having a relationship with me. And I kind of came to the conclusion that I think my daddy wanted sons because he had 2 daughters and he had not a relationship with either one of us. And I think it's because he wanted a son, because When my mom had my brother, who's not his son, he wanted to have a relationship with my brother, but he didn't want one with me.
Yeah, I think some men are that way, and
Hmm.
partly because of the thought of, oh, I'm gonna train up a man to be just like me. I'm gonna teach him not to
Hmm.
have, make the same mistakes that I made, and and to be completely honest, sometimes they just be like, man, girls are just too much. Like I gotta care for her. I gotta be gentle with her. I gotta do all these things. I can't roughhouse her. I can't do
Right.
any of these
And I
things.
really believe that's what it was. I believe
Hmm.
that having a daughter was scary for him. I
Yeah,
believe
it's
that
a lot of men.
he didn't know how to relate to a little girl. And I
Yeah.
believe that's what it was. And I believe, um, he just, it was frightening for him.
Hmm.
But what I learned from his side of the family by me not having a relationship with him and by him not being interested in having a relationship with me, when I got to a certain age, you know, my aunt, he had two sisters, three brothers, and I had a relationship with all of them, but
Yeah.
not him. And what
Mm.
they would, you know, what my aunts would always tell me is I need to reach out to him
Right.
and I need to go see him, and you shouldn't be like that. And what if
Huh?
what if you never get a chance to see him again? How would you feel? And so they imparted a lot of guilt into me
Yeah.
for not having a relationship with him, as if I was the parent and
Right.
he was the child.
Right.
And
Mm.
I lived with that guilt for a lot of years. Like, what if I would have just went when they told me to? And that's something that I learned, is that some toxic families will put responsibilities on kids that they were never supposed to have.
Right, because the adults weren't able to face, and do the things that they were supposed to do. But and again, that becomes a generational thing because they put that responsibility on the kids because if that's what it was. Well, what happens when those kids become adults? Then they do the same thing to their kids, and they put the responsibility on their kids, and it becomes, like I said, a cycle of toxicity where it becomes a pattern. In your
Mhm.
scenario, I trust me. There's a lot of fathers that feel that way when they have little girls. My partner Jay, and he ain't gonna he ain't gonna be upset about me calling him out about it too. My partner Jay, when he was out in them streets, we was wilding out back in the day. We was with this girl doing that, whatever. So when his baby came, it's like, oh, it's a girl. That terrified him
Mm.
because he was like, as much mess as I was out here doing in these streets, and I got a little girl.
Mhm.
Oh man, so that does happen. That really does happen. It's when you have the desire to not even deal with that child that it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Like you said, he would rather deal with the boy because, even though that wasn't technically his child, at least he could show love, and he could, roughhouse, he could do those things. He couldn't face the little girls though,
Mhm.
because it was almost like a reflection of what he did wrong,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And what it did was it set me up to get disappointed more times than I did in my
Right.
childhood, because I think after I had my first son, I reached out to my dad because I wanted him to, meet his first grandchild and have possibly have a relationship with him if you didn't have one with me. And I reached out. He had me travel like 2 hours to come see him. He said he wanted
Mm.
spend time with the baby, wanted to see him. He had some money for me for the baby. We travel over there, get there, and it was nothing of what he said.
Mm.
So that was another disappointment. And I was like 22.
Mm,
And I made up in my mind, this is my last time in life allowing this man to disappoint me and let me down.
right. Because at some point, it is your prerogative to not feel let down, and
Hmm.
not to put yourself in positions where you're gonna feel let down. So, if you feel like I need to stay away from this person, kind of like when we were talking about the families earlier. If I need to stay away from this person because I know that if I'm around this person, it's gonna hurt.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And I was
as
finally
hard
able
as
to stand up to my aunties and say, I don't care what y'all talking about, telling me I need to reach out to him. I'm not
Mhm.
doing it
Yeah, yeah.
more.
And I was gonna say, as hard as it may be, and as difficult as it might be, and as much pushback you get from other people in the family, sometimes that's a necessity. I mean, and it's different for everybody. Some people may not feel that conviction on that, but when you feel that conviction, like I can't, you know what I'm saying? Then
Mm-mm,
you can't.
I cannot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for all the engagement, the great comments. Yes. I
Man,
hope y'all enjoyed it.
the bottom of my camera is bigger than the top of my camera. So it looked like I got a little bitty head and then a Kool-Aid man body in this freaking shirt. I just realized it because I was like, wait a minute, why I look like, oh yeah. I was like, what is happening?
Now you got me thirsty.
That's why that's why I have my arms folded. Because I was like, wait a minute. I'm out here looking like a whole picture. Like somebody about to just open the door and pull me out.
I ain't even noticed it until you said it. I don't see the difference.
But
Your head don't look small.
It looks smaller than my body. My body looks like I was like, golly, hold on, I know I ain't that disproportionate.
Y'all let us know. Do Gator look like the Kool-Aid man? Y'all thirsty for some red Kool-Aid? I'm about to go make me some red Kool-Aid.
I'm about to go make some red Kool-Aid. I mean, I said, wait a damn minute, hold on. Let me fold my arms up.
You silly. Thank y'all for tuning in for another Dope Discussions Live Tuesday conversation. We will see y'all again. When she said he had to have the red shirt on too. Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm looking at
it don't matter what color. He could have had on the blue. I go give me some blue raspberry.
Yeah, I was gonna do blue raspberry if I had on blue. Look, I'm sitting up here, I'm bent over like this, trying to make sure it don't look.
I like all the flavors.
Dude, man. Fit to be poured.
Y'all, thank y'all for tuning in. We'll see y'all next Tuesday. Same time, same place. Have a good night.
Peace out.
All right, where we at? I bet background music is nice.
You kind of like that, huh?